No decision made on the extension of the emergency powers order. More than 100,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine administered in country thus far, and the National Security Minister setting the record straight regarding the voter registration process. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Tuesday, July 27th. As countries around the world are making it mandatory for healthcare workers to become vaccinated, Health Minister Renward Wells sets the record straight on the country's position. Laurencia Smith has more.
Minister Renward Wells addressing the speculation of the mandatory vaccination for the country healthcare workers as the Bahamas fights its way through another wave of COVID-19. Just before the weekly cabinet meeting, while speaking with reporters, when asked if the government is worried about losing nurses to other countries if the policy is implemented, says that if nurses leave the country, they may find challenges elsewhere. And here's what he means by that.
Look what has happened to countries around the globe. France has made it mandatory for all healthcare workers. Italy has made it mandatory for all healthcare workers. Greece has made it mandatory for all healthcare workers. Other European countries are now discussing it as if they are going to move forward and make it mandatory for healthcare workers. But we don't need to look to Europe. Let's look to the United States. Just yesterday, the entire state of California made it mandatory that all public workers in California be vaccinated or get tested every week to show that they do not have the virus. And there's talk about them charging their employees to do such.
Minister Wells making it clear that it's not the current position of the Bahamas government to make vaccination mandatory among healthcare workers. However, he says the recommendations were made by health professionals within the ministry to the government for mandatory vaccination for healthcare professionals to help arrest and deal with the spread of COVID-19. But the government has not made a decision.
I must say, I think it's even more instructive to ask some of the leaders in the healthcare sector. And when I say leaders in the healthcare sector, that may be whomever it is that you all would identify as a leader in the healthcare system. Do you even know what their position is on vaccination? Have you all asked? What is the position of these individuals? Do they believe that their members should be vaccinated? Whether it's the doctors, president of the union, whether it's the nurses, president of the union, whether it's other people in the healthcare professionals? I think the fourth estate should ask, because I think that's instructive as to where we are and to where we should go.
Meanwhile, the healthcare workers have expressed that they are overwhelmed as the cases are once again on the rise. The health minister provided an update on additional help as there are some 30 interns took their examination on Monday, while an additional 64 nurses are expected to come on stream.
There's about 24 senior house officers who is going to be, well, it's more than 24. We're looking to hire, well, not hire, we're bringing on 30, and then we're going to be bringing on an additional 30 interns. As you know, last year, we would have hired some 32 doctors, if you would remember back in October, who were interns in the systems, and we hired them as senior house officers. And as you know, the 1st of July is the new budget period. And for that budget period, we are bringing on, who are currently working, 64 registered nurses. We're bringing on 23 in clinical nurses. We're bringing on 17 patient care assistants and 10 porters that are going to be deployed inside the public health system.
Minister Wells also shared that nurses who lost their lives while treating COVID-19 patients says that their families will receive the $100,000 honorarium sometime this week. I'm Laurencia Smith for JCN News.
Meantime, as of Saturday, July 24th, more than 100,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine have been administered in the Bahamas. The National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee in its latest update indicating that 60,578 people have received at least one dose of the vaccine. 43,943 people are fully vaccinated, 31,600 second doses administered on New Providence, 6,348 on Grand Bahama, 1,352 on Eleuthera, 792 on Abaco, Exuma with 799 fully vaccinated individuals, 428 on Andros, 387 on Bimini, 3,030 on Long Island and Rumkey, 162 on the Berry Islands, 145 on Cat Island, 117 on Inagua, and rounding off with double digits of those fully vaccinated are San Salvador with 92, Acklands 25, Crooked Island 21, and Mayaguana 15. 103,164 total doses of vaccines have been administered nationwide. As August 13 approaches, there's still no official word on whether or not the country's state of emergency will extend. Health Minister Renward Wells telling reporters just outside of the office of the Prime Minister this morning that Cabinet still hasn't made any final decision. This despite the mounting cases of COVID-19 over the past few weeks.
For us, this is not a static situation, it's a very dynamic situation. And in dynamic situations, that means decisions are made as we go along based on the initial conditions, the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So as we approach August 13th, the government will assess, reassess, look at our where we are, where we want to go economically, where we want to go nationally in our social sphere and the mental health of the Bahamian people. How do we see ourselves from a legal standpoint being able to move forward and still have rules, regulations that keep our people safe.
The country has been under a state of emergency since March of last year when the first case of COVID-19 made its way to our shores. It has been extended several times since then. The government has noted, however, the state of emergency has been a tool to help with containing the spread of the virus. Mr. Wells encouraged Bahamians to listen to the Prime Minister's national address on Wednesday night.
I'm sure that the Prime Minister, well, I don't know whether he's going to speak specifically to that tomorrow night, but I think the Bahamian people ought to, as they always do, they wait for the Prime Minister to speak on issues. But we have not made any decision. I mean, today's cabinet, perhaps that those issues will come up, and we'll be able to inform and update the Bahamian people.
The Office of the Prime Minister released a statement on Sunday which noted that the Prime Minister will announce a string of measures to limit the further spread of the virus. National Security Minister Marvin Dames, who has responsibility for the Parliamentary Registration Department, dispels reports that the department was using whiteout when voters came to transfer their address.
Parliamentary Registration Department does not use whiteout. I would have seen that as well, all right? And I would have taken that up with the Parliamentary Commissioner. And we are certain, okay, that was not done by anyone in the Parliamentary Registration Department.
He notes that this process has been going on for years. He admits, however, that it's time for a change in that regard. Minister Dames adds that this minister-led administration has taken the position to move towards an automated system. He also addresses the alleged voter oppression for residents on Grand Bahama and Abaco.
I would have addressed the comments in relations to that before of persons having to return to the island to make complaints. It's utter nonsense and it's very misleading, okay? And we have to, as leaders, all right, be very responsible in times like this, especially when we're putting information out there for the general public, okay? It's very misleading. And it's unfortunate.
With the general elections set for next year, Minister Dames says that he and the commissioner at the department meet weekly. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.